Hello, it's Philip Taylor from Richmond Green Chambers speaking. I'm talking about a book which we use regularly. It's called the Solicitors Handbook 2009. It's this book here. This is the Flickr review. Now, I've written this review with my wife Elizabeth because we use this book regularly. We've given it the title Maintaining the Highest Standards with all the necessary formal details, and that's exactly what the Law Society have done in the production of this book. It's a heavy book, 1100 odd pages, some useful indentations here for the bulk of the book, which is this bit, which is all the regulations. There's a lot of basic useful information and sensible stuff for solicitors, and also of course for barristers, because it's useful for both branches of the profession. What we've done is we've called the book by this title, Maintaining the Highest Standards with all the necessary formal details, because that is what it contains. This is what we've said. There's no more authoritative guide to the rules and regulations governing solicitors in England and Wales than the second edition of the Solicitors Handbook for 2009, published by their governing body, the Law Society, which is now in 19 chapters and 25 appendices. There were 18 last year, and it's expanded a bit in this new second edition. If you're a solicitor, the Solicitors Handbook 2009 should certainly now be a permanent fixture on your shelf or desk, placed conveniently, we hope, at your right hand, especially in view of the volume of regulation now faced by solicitors. For last year's edition, we described it as a handy statement of the current rules without going online. We remain, of course, in an age of handbooks as the legal profession continues to be regulation mad. However, this particular edition, the second one, is much needed because it draws together all of the most important rules and regulations that affect solicitors, and in just one volume. The 19 chapters, as I mentioned, one extra from last year, are conveniently split into 4 areas: the overview, the rules, fraud and money laundering, and the regulatory and disciplinary system in practice. The heavy formal detail is found in the now 25 appendices, although it's fair to say that the book needs to be used a bit first in order to familiarise yourself with where things are. I found it a bit difficult, but I got used to it. And as I say, I think it's like everything. They all have their own particular ways, and this one is no different. The authors, a solicitor, advocate and a barrister respectively, are both silks and specialists in the field of professional regulation and discipline. They've updated the second edition to take account of all recent developments in the regulatory landscape. Expert commentary is provided on the practical realities of the regulatory and disciplinary environment in which you as a solicitor will operate, backed of course by illuminating discussion of the relevant decided cases. It's not too heavy, but it's just about right. As pointed out in the preface to this edition, there are 2 major changes affected by the Legal Services Act of 2007 that are not yet in place, but they're sort of coming in. That's namely the alternative business structures, as they're called. That's true external ownership of law firms, and the complaints and redress system to be established by the Ombudsman scheme. I think that should be Ombudsman scheme of the Office of Legal Complaints, which will replace the current Legal Complaints Service. So we're getting into new territory here. Nonetheless, relevant to the 2009 edition of the handbook is the fact that the Legal Services Act 2007 is now in force, even if, in the words of the authors, quote, in some respects the practical effects of changes engendered by the new law have not yet been tested. The handbook contains useful and detailed supporting materials, including the text of the latest versions of the Solicitors Code of Conduct 2007 and the Solicitors Accounts Rules 1998, together with the Accountant's Report form revised in May 2009. You'll also find a lot of other information, including SRA recognised bodies regulations, Solicitors Financial Services Scope rules, the warning cards, the SRA warning cards, the Law Society's Anti-Money Laundering Practice Note, and extracts from the Legal Services Act 2007. So, in all, this is an authoritative publication designed to assist you in maintaining professional standards and identifying and dealing with regulatory and disciplinary issues before they escalate into the terrifying realms of serious and costly error for your practice. Updated with the practitioner's perspective always in mind, it gives expert commentary on the practical reality of the regulatory and disciplinary environment in which solicitors operate today, and it discusses all of the relevant decided cases in the field, and will of course be useful to barristers as well who conduct public access work. Like the continuing confidence of the Master of the Rolls in his foreword, it's repeated actually in this edition, and I think it's very useful. Hopper and Treverton-Jones remain successful, therefore, in their aim of helping to avoid innocent mistakes which can lead to serious consequences. Although, as Sir Anthony Clark said last year, the Internet provides information which is fully up to date at any given moment, he recognises that this handbook gives basic principles which can be readily consulted without going online. It still does, and it maintains the highest standards of the formal detail which it gives to practicing solicitors with the new conduct regime, and we welcome it. And thank you very much, Law Society. Bye bye.